So I have a few questions that I wanted to ask. This has been a good tradition. We close it off with an Ask Me Anything Masters panel. Feel free to ask. I know you're not using the Slido app that much, but just raise your hand. It's a small, intimate, still crowd, and then we'll take it from there. So, guys, just let's be concrete. Let's share as much as we can. These are guys hungry to learn. This is the last one. We are between them and the drinks.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. We'll make it exciting. We'll make it as much as we can. So why don't you start by introducing yourselves? Cheryl?
I'm Cheryl Hill. I was on earlier. I didn't give much of a plug for Skip, but I'm the digital marketing director there, performance marketing director at Skip. We're the largest food delivery network here in Canada, and we've also experienced some serious hockey stick growth. Since 2012, we've been in market. We were acquired by Just Eat UK in 2016 when I joined, and kind of taken the reins from there the last 2 years to continue with the growth.
Go ahead, Flavio.
Claps.
What? I need a team. I need some points.
I'm Flavio, the Monetization Director for Gameloft's Toronto studio here. So I'm leading a team of product managers, live operations managers, game economy designers, and data analysts for the games that we develop and operate out of our Gameloft Toronto studio. So that includes Disney Magic Kingdoms. You saw Matt talk about that earlier. And we also have Lego Legacy coming out later this year as well, which is very exciting.
Great.
And my name is Sunil. I'm co-founder and CEO at CleverTap. We are a user retention platform for basically consumer mobile apps. Put together analytics, user engagement, marketing automation, segmentation as a glue to solve for user retention.
So great. We have a We have a diverse panel here. Skip the dishes, Gameloft, gaming expertise, and platform, the vendor side. I know a little bit about marketing as well. So let's start it. Let's start by, we'll focus a little bit on UA marketing, and then we'll come into the retention side. Good for you guys. So why don't you share a little bit, Cheryl and Flavio, feel free to jump in. Tell us a little bit about the marketing structure. People want to know how your marketing teams are structured, like UA media buying people. Do you have some app store optimization people, someone doing industry intelligence, retention? Brief overview of your teams.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So a lot of the chat today here has been very kind of UA bottom of the funnel things, and mobile app obviously specific, but Skip, we still have a large kind of new user base that comes in on desktop, surprisingly. So our team is built really on full funnel marketing and from above the line to bottom. So we have in-house media buyers. We have 6. We have an affiliate marketing team. We have a big team of in-house designers as well. We also work really closely with our product team. So there's kind of dotted lines there for the tools that we use for retention also speak to directly into changing what content our customers are seeing on the app for more personalization. So there's some product people in there as well as copy, I think we mentioned. But yeah, we don't build it out by user acquisition retention as much as we do by channel still. Social paid, affiliate, SEO, ECRM, all under the digital, and then campaigns team and creative are led by another director, and we kind of all work together to kind of tackle all the touch points across all of the funnel and all kind of platforms.
And the creative team sits with you, you said? Like, who's churning out the creatives?
Yeah, the creative is in-house, so there's 2 directors. So Kendall is our creative director, so yeah, she's got the team there.
Flavio, you want to jump out a little bit about your team, live ops, monetization, what have you?
I'll talk a little bit about the marketing side also, because this is what we're talking about. But
absolutely,
it's generally a little bit different for each studio, but we'll have typically per title 1 or 2 product marketing managers. So they're the ones making sure that the marketing strategy is following the game's branding and also respecting the guidelines of the licensor, which is super important for us with the games that we have. And they're mostly focusing on the organic part of things. Then we have game community managers who are the link between the players and the development teams as well. Data analysts are under the monetization umbrella, but they also are a shared resource between the entire game team. And then more recently, we've actually been hiring UA managers to work directly within the studios, inside of the game teams. That's something that we've been trying to do, is become more sophisticated with UA, as we know that organic installs through featuring just don't have the same impact that they used to have before. And so with this type of sophistication that we're trying to improve upon, we find the need for somebody to kind of lead this whole team. So we're actually looking for, in each studio, in each of our key studios, to hire marketing directors. So we're actually looking right now, if somebody's interested or knows an interesting profile, we'd love to hear from you.
Great, great. I want to move a little bit towards the platform and retention re-engagement. I want to get a little bit of an idea of how about your retention strategies, and then I will pass it over to Sunil to talk a little bit about the platform and some of your case studies that you've seen solve this problem. I mean, retargeting is one of the hardest things to measure, and all the efforts that go and support, like beyond retargeting, I mean, retention activities, push, email, segmentation. Can you guys share a little bit about what you guys are doing, what is working out, what's not working out, what kind of a platform, if you can share, you're using in-house, external, and then Sunil, if you can elaborate a little bit about what you guys do and how.
Yeah, so I can speak to retargeting almost in the kind of old school traditional way, which is just trying to use retargeting to still get that first user in the door, and then I would separate retention separately once they're in the door, what we're doing to retain them and keep them kind of on the network and active. So we do use a bit of programmatic for our retargeting. We've used a company called Criteo. We do a lot of in-house as well, just using Google Display Network and Facebook as well. So I would say that's kind of getting less and less for our user acquisition, but we do use our retention strategy now is much more robust. So our first 2 years, our strategy was very hard to own Canada and get our users in the door, and then it became very clear that really our bread and butter is keeping our user base engaged and active on the network. So we have started using a tool that allows us to segment and kind of speak directly into our data warehouse to segment our customers. So we have, one of our strategies is to optimize our cohort base, which is, say we want to get someone, it's really looking at lifetime value. So if we get a new user in the door, how many times do we want them to use the app or order within a certain time period? So say someone comes in the door and they haven't ordered in 7 days, then what communication is going out to them? After they've ordered the first time, what happens after 7 days to get them to the next order, and so on, all the way down to if someone, for example, orders on a regular cadence, say every week, and then for some reason 3 weeks down the line, they haven't ordered, what communication are they then getting? And we're relying on this tool to automate that process for us. So manually, we're still coming up with these segments. We're obviously coming up with the creative and testing all of that, and all with the goal of what is the sweet spot for the lifetime value and how many times do they have to be ordering within a certain time period so that we consider them kind of an MVP. So it's really moving that first user. You want them to be low to that hockey stick again, so your MVPs are a lot higher than what your new users are doing.
A quick example of something that recently worked very well, a win back or anything?
Yeah, we have a couple actually. We've had some good success with kind of attaching ourselves to moments that resonate with our target audiences. So this was an example even before I knew I was going to be in Toronto today. It is really quite a true thing, but the Raptors, the playoff run and the finals and the win, I'm still excited about it, not even as a marketer. It's just so amazing.
I was waiting when it would come up.
Yeah, I can barely sit in my seat. Yeah, exactly, we the North. Yeah, so we just, we're very agile about that. So we recognize that we have a target audience that sports and events, CFL, NHL, NBA, they all resonate with our audience. So being a Canadian company, we kind of jumped on board with this, and it was doing things like sending a push on game nights to kind of, we know that people are getting together if it was a Friday night game to like order food together. Also, after really tough losses, that like sad next day morning thing, you know. So we kind of switched up the hangover text in a push to really a hangover text, or sorry, not a text, a push going out. And we used the creative too. Is always short and snappy. It's funny and clever. There's a CTA and typically a voucher. We also like to use emojis. But yeah, we saw a lot of success with those.
Sunil, you want to jump in with what you guys do and some success stories you have had recently?
Yeah. So I think Cheryl hit the nail on the head here. It's a lot about user segmentation, really. And that's what, a couple of things we provide are these sort of frameworks around automatic user segmentation, using machine learning, whatever you want to call it, like compute. So recency frequency models, right? Just to break your segments into sort of your champion users based on whatever activity of your choice. It could be who launches the app most, who's done the most in-app purchases, whatever. So you separate out your champions at the top end of the scale to your hibernating or your at-risk users. And generating that automatically helps our customers a lot so that they can sort of focus their loyalty rewards, if you will, on that champion loyal users sort of customer base segment. And then your reactivation, your re-engagement on sort of the lower end of the at-risk and hibernating users. Another framework actually we developed with actually a partner in Berlin is this framework of user segmentation around sort of, we call it the AIC framework. We probably need a better marketing name, but it's awareness, interest, and conversions, right? So just breaking your user base into people who are aware, meaning coming into the app launch kind of a thing. But then the next level is interest, meaning they're not yet purchasers or they're not yet doing what you want them to do, but they're showing a lot more interest, searching or things like that. And that's your interest segment. And then your conversion segment are your sort of people who are doing what your conversion event or set of events are. And again, that just gives you a nice framework to sort of move people up and down, up ideally. So we just, sort of, I think segmentation is a key. A lot of, obviously games is a lot more advanced, than other verticals. We see a lot of, sort of other verticals. And for them, the biggest, at least the challenge we've seen is like, okay, what are these segments? We can go in 1,000 ways. So just automatically generating some of these things have nicely worked for us and our customers.
That's a good one. Does your platform also allow, it spits out a list of users that can be retargeted with paid acquisition?
Yes, we
paid
do
ads?
actually. So one of the very popular use cases is to take your champion users or your loyal customers and then retarget. And so natively we integrate with Facebook audiences, Google Ad networks, and you can take your champion users and then sort of turn on lookalikes on Facebook, on Google, so that you try to get, sort of similar people. We don't provide that, but it nicely integrates. So you can take your best users and using Facebook, Google lookalikes, you can get to, sort of a lookalike audience, if you will.
Yeah, I think a good segue there is, however, we've all been having a laugh around the Google, Facebook. And, I know we all know we should diversify, but it really is these tools like CleverTap. It's tools like these that are allowing us to still do very well on these older platforms, because it isn't about, it's not about what it used to be about buying keywords. It's really about buying keywords or whatever the case may be, but layering on these segments that you're defining that are important to your business. So that's definitely what's getting these guys more legs with the bigger platforms.
Great.
And of course, I'm from California, and the Warriors lost, but I don't want to be a villain.
Nice. We have a good representation.
I don't want to be a villain here.
Nice.
At least we lost, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
So moving on a little bit towards, I want to really hear about Gameloft's live operations and monetization. If you can walk us through a little bit how the ideation happens, how does your live operations work? And there's some, I'm sure there are some things that other apps can also, like non-gaming apps can also learn when to throw in an event, when to throw in a promotional offer, and then how it can be tied towards marketing the users to make them aware of what live ops is going on. So just run us through some of the process that goes in and how some of the successes as well.
So that's something that we've sort of iterated over time. So going back to Disney Magic Kingdoms, we knew right away the importance of live ops and the events. Even looking back at a previous game that we had before, Uno and Friends.
Sorry, maybe even define live operations, because I think there's a lot of non-gaming crowd here, and gaming, it's more used in gaming, so why don't you start there?
So it's a little bit of a nebulous thing, but generally speaking, is anything that you're doing live, server side, where you don't necessarily need to be introducing new features or adding new content. You still want to have those things tied together, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. But it just means anything that you're running live for the players, typically events and promotions, is what we mean when we talk about live operations.
Then talk a little bit about how Gameloft, or some of the an example of a recent success, or how you tied.
Sure.
Yeah.
So first, just to illustrate sort of the importance of live operations, we had a game, Uno and Friends, and it was kind of at the end of its life cycle, so we decided to stop doing regular updates. And we just had 2 people running promotions and tournaments. That's it for over 2 years, and the revenue didn't drop a single bit. So that just shows you the power of when you're doing the live operations done the correct way, what you can get bang for your buck, basically. So we knew that going into Disney Magic Kingdoms that it was going to be very important. So we started out with our first mega event, which was for The Incredibles. We learned quite a lot from it. We looked at all the data to see, the completion rates, not only data quantitatively, but also looked at all the social networks to see what people were saying about the game. It's also very important because we're working with Disney. We want to make sure that people are happy.
What do you mean, the likes and whatnot? Like
all the comments,
Nice.
make sure that our community manager is on top of things, as it's supposed to be the happiest place on earth, so we have to make sure that we emulate that, right? But yeah, we played around over time with the difficulty of the event, the length of the event, the kind of content distribution and the balancing, the pricing of the IP bundles, or the in-app purchases that we have. So that's really the key part, is making sure that the timing is perfect so that we're providing the players with the content that they need at the exact time to help them get through the event. So that's what we found was the most powerful. And we still, no matter what kind of event we come up with now, is we need to make sure that that's on point. So yeah, just over time, we've been able to iterate on that, and we've been able to, over time, basically triple the revenue that we get from the base of the game with these events.
Nice. Do you or any of you have an idea of how this could be used by a non-gaming app? I mean, you have a good storyline and some feature, or even not feature, but you tweak and release something every week, and then live operate and double or triple your revenue. How can a non-gaming app? Are there some examples that you guys can throw in, or how can a non-gaming app use live operations, so to speak?
Yeah, I can take a crack. And I think, again, Cheryl, talked a little bit about it. I think it's to use, when the Super Bowl blacked out a couple of years ago, the Oreo, this is the best non-gaming, non-even digital, right?
Absolutely.
This is a TV ad that showed up with the black and white. It was really smart when the Super Bowl blacked out for 30 minutes or whatever it was. And I think that's as live ops as it can get, right? So I think leveraging outside events, whether it's sports or weather or whatever, and if brands are on, non-gaming brands are also on top of that, there can be some real creativity there, I think, in terms of user engagement.
Yeah, I'm not entirely clear with the term live ops, but from what I'm gathering, it's offline. Is it offline activations?
No, they would be online.
Online
but,
activations,
yeah.
and then
Online.
bringing them back through. Yes, I think it's really about what you've said there, injecting that content right when they need it. So for us, it would be injecting that content right when we think it would be valuable for them, so that they need it. And it isn't necessarily for us, order now, do what we want you to do, because we also want you, or our customers, to just engage with us, enjoy our content, and just really be top of mind when the time comes. So it's important for us to kind of do that touch point of not hammering down our CTA the entire time, as much as getting people to use us, ingrain us in their regular routines. Just be top of mind.
Maybe do a Taco Tuesday event.
Yes. Yes, yeah. Taco Tuesday, I don't know a joke for that one. I don't think we have done a Taco Tuesday. Too common?
I guess.
I also am hiring Flavio, just saying.
Do you guys do ad monetization from ad revenues in your apps? Do you want to share a little bit about what is working there, what is not working there, what to do, what not to do for anyone who's starting up? Basically monetization, beyond the in-app purchase monetization through ads.
So for us, it's because we're working with licensed games and they're a family-friendly game. We have to be very, very careful with the partners that we choose and the content that is being distributed to our players. So it's not a huge percentage for us, but we do have some other games in our lineup that other studios make where it is a more significant portion. And we also learned that we can use, actually recently, live ops as well to improve the engagement that people have with these ads. So if we have incentivized ads where by watching a certain video, players will get event currency that's only available for that time, we absolutely saw a big spike in the revenue there.
Do you, Cheryl, also do some ad monetization?
No, we don't monetize the app at all at the moment.
No, good. At this point, I can throw out to the audience any good questions you have.
Skip the dishes. Just off the top of my head, I know there's also Uber Eats, there's DoorDash, games, there's many different games, Clever Tap as well. There's like Firebase Analytics. How important is marketing? Like if I have a great idea, is marketing more important than the product? Is the product more important than the marketing? Is there a scale that you think? Like I know Skip the Dishes, I don't know the difference between you guys or Uber Eats or DoorDash, for example. I know the difference between games and maybe not so much what Clever Tap does, but can you touch upon that and whoever has time?
I've been marketing the digital space for, I don't want to age myself, but you know, it was a long time ago. Anyway, and it was even before social was even around. There was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, it's anything. So what has been interesting, what your question is now, the trend that I'm noticing, sorry, I've just realized as well that I just went, all right, out of the way, I'm going to take this question. Sorry, I apologize.
All good.
All good.
Yeah, I apologize. Is that it's almost like product and marketing are coming together. So we are working much closer with product. And I mean, we used to build landing pages so that marketing started contributing and working with UX designers to work on what landing pages elements should be there to influence the behavior of what you want to do based on the messaging that marketing is putting out there to get users or to target users that you want and bring them in to see the message that technically then is product now. So instead of landing pages that are quickly going away, we're now sending directly into app, which is now we are working directly with our product teams to talk about what is the content should be there based on all of the targeting and all of the work, the messaging, the personas, the CTAs, all of the work that's being done here has to marry up with what is going on now in product. So the two, I would say, are equally as important. And that, again, I go back to the tools that are like Clever Tap, which are now kind of helping inject that dynamic content that is based on the personalization or the behaviors that people have taken on your sites, which 100% brings into play like what that cohort is. So anyone who's placed that first order, or maybe someone places, someone places an order for pizza every Friday night for 5 weeks, and then they fall off the table. So what I want to do is get a pizza ad in front of them or an email to remind them about what they love, but when they open up that app, I want them to see their favorite pizza restaurant as well, which is product. So if we go to the second part of your question, which I think is what's the difference? So you've mentioned a few small players, I believe, in the online delivery space. I'm just kidding, sorry if there's any in the room. Just, you know.
Who?
Raptors. Is that marketing is important. I'm a marketer, so I'm going to go with marketing first, because at the end of the day, if all products are the same, we want our customers to have us top of mind first. So it's important to build that brand love, that brand affinity, so that people are coming and thinking about you throughout their lives and thinking about your brand and how much brand impacts your life and how much they love, say, we want to get in front of people because they love Raptors, we love Raptors, so we want Raptors fans to think of us first. That's probably what the name of the game is going to be, because inevitably products start to all kind of look the same at the end.
Yeah, no, I have a couple of, my 2 cents on this is, I mean, product is super important, but there are so many products there. I mean, when you look at mobile, 2.5 million apps, right? How do you stand out? So marketing becomes a very key part right from day one. And today's marketing is very measurable, right? Gone are the days of marketing when we put something up on the billboard and then we barely were able to measure. So I think with the product is very important is the data engineering piece to measure marketing. You know, there are the Facebook marketing partners, the MMPs, mobile measurement partner. It's very, very important to tracking. I think Adjust is here, and there are many companies, such companies that are able to track that marketing dollar you're spending. Because without that, I think it's very, very hard to grow in the mobile space. So you got to keep on putting in the best sources. Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer that Facebook, Google, and Apple ads as well are very important for people to start. I mean, if there's one spot, probably Facebook would be the spot. And then slowly you build, you measure the retention, you know, you measure the return on ad spend. And are you bringing people that pay? And then you slowly build attraction, and then you can double down. I mean, once you are in a little steady state, you allocate a % of the revenues, like 30, 40. I mean, initially probably it is 100% of your revenues is going into marketing, but then you start lowering it down. But marketing is very key part to cut the clutter that we are in. And also App Store optimization, there was a talk on it. Once people are in that page, it's so hard to get the person in that on your App Store page, but once they are there, you make sure that you have all the elements that resonate with the people that you want, the relevant people, and they convert. They download, and then they come back, and with it, the product, things that you guys measure, like a Clever Tap or whatever platform you use to re-engage them continuously with new offers, new promotion, new things to do. Gamification of non-gaming apps is also a very, very good thing, because you give people a reason to come back. And people love games, right? If even skip the dishes, you throw in a game. Raptors, the basketball thing, because on a Raptors day, you have people coming in, playing that little silly thing, and then you monetize through that. So a lot of different things. It's like an orchestra. You can't do phase 1, phase 2, but I think a lot of it starts together. But a good product is obviously at the base of it.
Yeah, and I can add a B2B angle maybe, where also I think they are, very much partners, because, the B2B buyer, like people who buy Clever Tap, for example, today, they're so much educated before they even come to us or talk to us. And all of that is marketing, right? Like it's the top of the funnel, the content, the awareness that, that they can research on, before they even sort of get to the stage. So that education, up in the funnel is played by marketing. And if that's not there, we have enough stories of, good products, the best products of the breed just not going anywhere, right? Because these are the biggest kept secrets in the world kind of a thing, right? So these are very much, I think, partners in crime. And even in a B2B space, marketing, it's become a lot more data-driven. So, it's not only about banners that you put on freeways these days, right? So it's become a lot more data-driven, and that helps. And the product guys also think, when they think about retention, when they think about messaging, there's a lot more that is also being thought about by the product guys as being extension of the brand. It's like, it's not always buy. It's like, the relevant, timely, contextual things. And the product guys orchestrate it in many, many companies that we work with. So I think this has to go together.
One quote I like in this area is, it was quoted back in the day, half of my marketing cost goes to waste. I just don't know which half, right? Today, at least we know which half.
And one cannot hide the other. If you have a crappy product, at the end of the day, no good marketing is going to hold that up. And the other way around, you can do, whatever, you can be the best product, but crappy marketing is not going to hold, so it works both ways.
How do you guys go about establishing and breaking down your marketing budgets? And you can use exact numbers and percentages if you want.
Sorry, what was it? Thanks for allowing them to break it down by exact numbers. They were raring to share that, by the way.
That's not really my department to say, so I'll plead the fifth on this one.
Good one. We have some UA people from Gameloft here. RT, come on in. Any broad percentage, maybe not even percents, but lion's share, mouse's share, I don't know,
Yeah,
bunny's share.
we definitely split ours out or think about it by a full funnel. So a lot of the bottom line direct response people in the room want to hear 90% at the bottom of the funnel, which 100% 15 years ago, we were all digital marketing putting at the bottom, direct response. But now we definitely understand that awareness and filling the top of that funnel is crucial, very important. So is the middle of the funnel. What I was talking about when all products are the same, that middle of the funnel is so important. The consideration piece, where this is where people know if they like your brand or not, if it's their kind of their jam really. So we understand that we want to put money in there. So we try and divvy it out. It's also very seasonal too. It's hard to say, but typically it's very close to middle. So sometimes it could be close to 40-60 for bottom, or it could be, depending if we need orders, it could be 20-80. It really just depends on the need and the KPIs at the time throughout the year.
And again, from a slightly different perspective, I can talk broadly between, as a retention company, I'm really happy that there's budget coming into retention now. It used to be only like acquire. But now I think, literally in the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of shift and attention to sort of CRM teams. You got to retain your existing users. Those are your best bang for buck and all that stuff. And, obviously we know the stats on the mobile side that you lose 90% of your users, non-games, but you lose them within 30 days to 45 days, right? So I'm happy that there's now budget for retention, and it's pretty significant.
I have a quick question for Gameloft monetization. We sort of talked about live operations, like ad revenues. What about IAP? Can you share some of the things that have really worked in the in-app purchase department? That a couple of examples or some things you can share, or is it tied directly to new feature updates, content? What's working these days in the in-app purchase field?
Well, typically the way it works for free-to-play games is you're going to have hard currency or premium currency that you can buy with real money, and then you spend normally to speed up your progress. So actually, a big chunk of your revenue is going to come from that. But again, depending on the type of game that you're running, so I'll go back to DMK because that's what we work on. Players want characters and they want attractions to be able to place in their park. So it's up to us to figure out a balance between giving a good experience for players to go through the story for free, and also make some characters a little bit harder to get, so that you'll need to make a purchase and convert in order for you to get the entire collection. But it's a very fine balancing act in order to not push away our players, because we're looking really for long-term revenue. We don't really care about pushing the short term and hurting our players over the long term.
Cheryl, you wanted to add something about what's working out in the revenues department, purchasing. Any quick examples? Feel free to say no.
Spend less, make more. I don't know. And that we're not monetizing the app at all. We do have we run a lot of partnerships, and we have strategic partnerships departments that we do. But mostly what we are trying to do is build those relationships, so it's valuable for us as much as our restaurant partners, and McDonald's all the way down to the mom and pops, and also some strategic partnerships, Coke, Pepsi, all those types of things. We're always kind of keeping those conversations going, but we're not really charging anyone to be in our space at the moment.
What is harder, to acquire new users of the app or new partners that you, or restaurants or whoever you partner with? What is a bigger challenge, or both?
That's a great question. So easier to get new this is a very logical answer, is it was harder to get new restaurants at the beginning, and a lot easier to get them now because the proof is in the pudding, so they can see the results. So it's definitely shifted, and also with the consumer, we didn't have a lot of market share 4 years ago, 2 years ago, so we worked really hard on user acquisition. So now it is a bit easier to get them in, but there's less of them out there because we have a bigger market share.
From the technology side, the one thing I can add is that, sort of the omni-channel, I mean, in-app notifications, app inboxes, things like that are becoming very popular. And also like the richness of media, right? You can play videos in push notifications these days. You can do carousel on iOS and things like that are really making like the call to actions we've seen through our customer base, right? They're a lot more driving like almost directly in-app purchases by using a lot of these rich media, even in push or in-app messages and so on.
But what you guys are predicting, let's say in the next 5 years, we talked about structure of your teams earlier, and I'm curious if you thought some roles would become increasingly important and some perhaps less so, and as well if there's kind of like a systematic approach of continuously testing new sources or new ad networks, or is there like, if something works, you stick with it, or if, continually there's a budget going towards testing new sources of users?
So yes, we always have a testing budget. It's really important. We're in the tech space, and we know that it changes overnight. So we're always looking for new and innovative ways to get in front of new audiences, and then to engage with them and get them convert. What was the first part of the question?
I think.
Oh, future of the org structure. Yep. So even we are always evolving on this, and we're talking about how this looks. To go back to my example, how product and marketing works so much more closely now. We have recently, like some of our design team has shifted to sit with our product team. So we are kind of crossing channels that way and getting more collaborative groups together to almost work on kind of small projects together rather than keeping everyone siloed, essentially. But yeah, I guess the answer to that is I think it'll always be changing, and I don't think we'll stay the same for long periods of time.
I'll take a crack at that from my perspective. I mean, it is a truth that automation is becoming very, very important. Technology is overtaking some of these jobs, but it's still not there. It's far, far away. You still need human intervention to find what is working, what's not working. It will be ideal when I come to work and I know exactly where to put my next dollar automatically by a click of a button. But it's not happening. It's not going to happen in the next I don't know. It's a fathomable future. But it is true that some of the AI, some of the models will be very, very important to, tell you, guide you where to spend your next dollar, what to do for retention, what to do for, all the platforms and tools are getting more advanced. Facebook and Google are getting very advanced. So the number of people that you had to do just Facebook it will reduce a little in the foreseeable future. But there are some things, creatives, for example, you will still need people to make those, and you will still need people to optimize the campaigns. I'm 100% sure that not everything is not happening tomorrow, but in the next 5 years, for 2 to 5 years, I'm sure it'll get there where fewer people are needed, and everything is you just come to the office and click a button, hopefully, and you will know exactly what is happening and where you need to focus right now. But it's not there. You still need to distribute your budget. There's a lot of human elements involved. Distribution of budget, optimization of campaigns, the creative building, analysis of data, but things are going slowly in a way where more automation will take place. But you still need to make those decisions. Decision making is still very, very, very human-based, but it is going more and more in the direction where it's AI and ML and all the buzzwords of the industry.
So not really trying to predict the future, but there are two big trends that at least we see. One is data is becoming the thing, right? So traditional marketing organizations, are getting data analysts, data scientists, tools, and there's just a big sort of merging there of, data-driven marketing, right? And it's a big thing, I think, organizationally that'll change as we go along. And the second thing is omni-channel is also merging somehow, like teams that are, it's not that, even brands that do omni-channel, meaning use email, use push, use this thing, these are like now the need is there to orchestrate them. So you don't get sort of, almost competing offers on email, say something else, and the push says something else just because they're timed differently or these are different teams. So somehow that omni-channel also seems to be merging, at least in the thought process. So we'll see. I don't know what happens 5 years from now, but.
One thing I'm seeing also a trend, and I did mention it in an opening talk, about performance marketing gaining a lot more importance over branding per se. So, everything to do with putting up billboards or TV ads, if not measurable. Things are moving more towards a measurable direction. So that, I think, is going to vastly change. And a lot of small organizations or apps are going to get known just through performance marketing, which means measurable on Facebook, Google, search, Apple, what have you, as opposed to the traditional marketing that we have done in the past. So that is certainly going to dictate more terms. I mean, even PR and things like that. Again, depends on the business, but in our world, less relevant. Before, I remember in gaming, there used to be huge PR initiatives when games were launched. Now, I think it's not needed that much. But for some apps or some industries, probably still very relevant. But I think if people focus a lot more on performance marketing, like measurable marketing that we can today, it'll be awesome. It's the direction. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
You guys mentioned game currency and also like upcoming trends. So one of the big ones is blockchain, crypto. Any impact as far as mobile?
Your question was how crypto can be involved in game currencies?
Yes.
Flavio, you look like the man who knows a lot about.
Can you buy using bitcoins, man?
Not in our games, but I know that there are some games that are talking about using that kind of technology for it. Okay. But again, like I said, I'm not really an expert on that. I can't really say anything.
That's fine. Sunil, about the user retention, maybe that part, is that something that you guys are looking at, rewarding with crypto or something like that?
Not really. I mean, we're not, I guess so, I mean, no, not yet. I mean, people use blockchain more for like ledger-like things. We don't have that kind of, I guess, transactional criticality in our space. So, so no, we've not really explored in those areas. We are really exploring like more data science, and it's really more about, for us, the roadmaps about how can we automatically give insights out, right? That funnels and cohorts are things like where you have a question and you're going into the system to find out the answer, right? What's my drop off? What's my monthly retention rate? But how can we sort of bring up those insights without you kind of thinking about the question? These 2,000 people are most likely to uninstall your app in the next 30 days. Things like that are what like we are. So insights on the sort of the analytics side, if you will, and then trying to prescribe campaigns, in a way that, like what's the best time to intercept on a conversion drop off kind of a thing. So our roadmap is a lot of that kind of stuff, not really blockchain.
Okay, last thing, 15 seconds exactly. What is one thing you think will be most important for, in your fields, marketing, be it monetization, be it in your B2B world? 15 seconds.
Yeah, for us, it's personalization. So I do not work for Google, but getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time really is what we're trying to do on Skip the Dishes to retain most of our customers.
I'm going to say timing is the most important thing, making sure that you're providing players with the right thing that they need at the right time.
Yeah, this sounds like a cliche, but we are, retention's the new growth is kind of our internal tagline. We believe that a lot, but for us, it's really providing value to our customers, right? The moment we can, bring out insights, like take the manual labor away, that's what we are looking at over a period of time. Thank you, Jeet.